mean, maybe I need to make the question bigger. If not, how did you change the CIA? How did the Iraq War change the CIA?
Oh, I think it's first of all, the CIA is not a monolithic,
No, but
organization. But I think they've come away. For instance, I'll just give you a couple examples. Right. In the NIE for Iraq, which was produced in unheard of 3 weeks' time, they put in like small font footprints the dissent over the aluminum tubes, which a CIA analyst argued vigorously won the day that these could only be used for centrifuges. And if that were correct, then that would be significant because Saddam Hussein was in fact restarting his nuclear program. But there was serious, sustained, and ultimately correct dissent from others in the community that said, actually, we don't believe that. We think that they are re-engineered Italian rockets, and I won't go into all those details. But what a crime, and how intellectually dishonest not to allow the policymaker to see that there is some serious question among right-thinking people, experts who have different opinions on what this is used for. That's just but one example.
Do you read the news reports now and see it? You can't help but see it through the lens of your CIA experience? And do you read news differently than the rest of us?
Like we touched on before, having been at the center of this, I am much more skeptical. I do try to seek other sources of information. I find something like there's a blog called Media Matters. I think it's Media Matters. Right. That seeks to sort of accuracy. Here are some statements in the Washington Post or the New York Times or made by presidential candidates of both stripes. Here are the facts on them. I find that is helpful to go.
Can you tell which candidates are actually getting the scoop now that they've got enough, that they've got enough rank in the lineup that they're getting reports of what's really going on in the world?
Oh, I don't think that's happened yet in the process. I don't think you mean being briefed on intelligence.
Getting briefed a
No,
bit.
I don't believe that happens in any significant way until they're nominated, and then they begin to get regular briefings.
What are the chances of somebody being in the room right now who's working a cover on the CIA?
But see, that's the whole point. You wouldn't know.
No, but
right?
what do you think the chances are?
Maybe someone's here from my old stomping grounds.
Well, because I have a friend who believes that within certain circles in Washington, about every fifth person is actually with the CIA.
Well, also everyone in Washington is a consultant, which is
you were a consultant.
I was.
Right? You were an energy consultant.
Yeah,
Wasn't that it? Did you actually know anything about energy?
I can't go into my covers,
knew?
but I will just say that I believe that I lived my covers.
I mean, can you watch oil prices go up and down and really analyze it and invest in the market wisely based on? Well, you could therefore have closure someday and become a really wild stockbroker.
And
we should, energy futures. But okay, so let's go back. Let's talk about the CIA to the extent that you can. And since you wrote about it in your book, I thought it was really interesting to read about your training and coming up. I mean, you come in, and you should really tell the story. You come in from outside, and you get picked, and then you're in this group of people, and none of you have last names?
Right.
You have an initial?
Initial.
You're Valerie P. You're allowed to be that, right?
Yes.
You're allowed to really use your name. And let me go back for just 1 second. Is it true that when you told Joe that your true identity, that he asked, is Valerie your real name?
I have to leave the quote with you. I cannot.
But you're smiling nicely, so I'm going to take that as I think that's wonderful. I wonder what else he asked you was true or not true, but you can't answer that. But so it's 1985, and you go to the farm. What's the farm like? Is it pretty?
It is.
Is it in Warrenton?
I can't
outside
say.
Warrenton? I think it's outside Warrenton.
The
Southern
CIA
food. You're eating even with redactions. I could tell you were eating
it's like the
Mad
Mad Libs. Yeah. The CIA uses what's called the farm to do its training, and one portion of that is paramilitary training. And we were dressed in fatigues and slept in Quonset huts and got to learn how to fire a variety of automatic weapons.
How many of you are in your group?
I'm not allowed to say.
Okay. But it's a small group.
Yeah. And at one point, years later, Joe read in Time magazine that I was the best shot in my class with an AK-47, which I had neglected to mention to him during earlier times.
But that must get you so much cred out west.
Well, he said it changed the
Cowboys
dynamic of our marriage.
But, you're in cowboy country, so.
We did things like there's something called crash and bang, where you learn how to, crash a wall or crash a car into a wall, do J-turns to get out of a roadblock. I went through hostile interrogations.
Did you have to do that thing where you climb up things and go over them and then shimmy under other things that are shooting over you and then go through mud?
What do you think, this is Private Benjamin doing?
Well, you look the part.
Well, yeah, it's that whole, and the whole point of that is not that those paramilitary skills are applicable to modern day espionage.
Yeah.
They're not. But they do two things. One is they build esprit de corps with a group, because you certainly know when you're in your up to your waist in swamp water and you have an 80-pound backpack and you're carrying an M16, you know who of your colleagues you can count on, who's going to fold, who will be there when they say they will be there. And those are all traits that will carry you through your career, under the most challenging.
In your class?
Oh, all the time.
Really? What percentage don't make it?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not prepared. But even if they make it, who kind of caves and who's just can't be counted on when the going gets tough, literally.
They may be smart but not strong or something like
yeah,
that.
or that, they kind of wimp out. They don't take their share. I mean, those sort of challenging conditions bring that out.
So the farm is a part of a weeding process.
It is, and it also provides senior agency management with a means to evaluate you. What are you made of?
Is that the moment when you realize you're actually going into the spy business?
No, that doesn't come for me until later. I was designated to go into operations.
Right.
When you're brought in, you're sort of put on your career track right away. Either you're an analyst or a scientist or the logistics fella or in operations, and I was designated to go into operations. So I went back and went through the operations course, and that's where you learn the trade craft, how to put notes and fake rocks and surveillance detection routes.
I want to learn that.
All that. Yeah, the trade craft of spying.
Yeah. And do you learn how to keep it from your friends?
Yes. I mean, part of the exercises were absolutely how to defend your cover. We would call it living your cover.
Right.
And it really is, it is not a 9-to-5 job. It really is a lifestyle.